Hi there strikers, on today's video we are going to show you the real-life story behind the movie. The Conjuring is based on a true story, our story. However, the film is not based on my trilogy House of Darkness, House of Light. It is, instead, based upon the case files of Ed and Lorraine Warren. There are liberties taken and a few discrepancies, but overall, it is what it claims to be, based on a true story, believe it or not. Andrea Perron, in a letter to horrormovies.ca, June 2013, how long did the Perron family live in the Rhode Island farmhouse? The real Perron family lived in the farmhouse for approximately 10 years. Located in the small country town of Harryville, Rhode Island, Roger Perron and his wife Caroline purchased the home in the winter of 1970. The 200-acre property offered plenty of space for them to raise their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cynthia and April. They moved out in June of 1980. Yes. Our research into the Conjuring true story reveals that paranormal investigator Lorraine Warren acted as a consultant to director James Wan and the filmmakers. She even visited the Wilmington, North Carolina set on the lot of Screen Gems Studios. The film itself was mostly inspired by she and her late husband Ed Warren's case files and recordings, dealing with the 1970s Perron family haunting. The entire Perron family also put their support behind the film, having already come together to support daughter Andrea Perron's self-published 2011 book about their experience, titled House of Darkness, House of Light, available in the right column. Like Lorraine, various members of the Perron family, who were friends with producer Tony DeRosa Grunt, also visited the Wilmington, NC set. Andrea, as expected, has been the most vocal of the group, while her sister Christine has been the most reluctant to talk about her experiences in the house. The most haunting spirit in the movie is that of suspected witch Bathsheba Sherman. Born Bathsheba Thayer in Rhode Island in 1812, she married fellow Rhode Islander Judson Sherman, 1 year her senior, in Thompson, Connecticut on March 10, 1844. The two were married by Vernon Stiles, a local justice of the peace. Bathsheba filled the role of housewife while her husband Judson worked as a farmer on their land. Fairly well off, Bathsheba and Judson had a son, Herbert L. Sherman, born when Bathsheba was approximately 37 years of age in March of 1849. It is possible that they had 3 other children as well, all of whom did not survive past the age of 7, though no census records could be found to confirm these reports. The family also usually took in a boarder, most likely to help them on the farm. The only photograph that has surfaced that could possibly include suspected witch Bathsheba Sherman is pictured below. It is a photograph of the Perron family farmhouse circa 1885, when it was then the Arnold estate. The real Bathsheba, who lived next door on Sherman Farm, would have been in her early 70s at the time, if not already dead, since she passed away in the spring of 1885. Various videos promoting Andrea Perron's book House of Darkness, House of Light have featured the vintage farmhouse photo displayed above, zooming in on the woman in the middle when alluding to Bathsheba Sherman. This was likely nothing more than a suggestive tactic used to promote the book, as we found no evidence to support that the woman near the middle of the photo is Bathsheba. Furthermore, the fact that the woman appears to be wearing a surgical mask undoubtedly adds to the video's creepiness, but it also makes it nearly impossible for anyone to know her true identity. If you're wondering why the woman might be wearing a surgical mask, it is more than likely to protect herself against bacteria spreading from influenza or one of the other rampant epidemics of that era, like diphtheria or tuberculosis. There is no hard evidence to support that Bathsheba Sherman was really a witch, only legend and local folklore. Having lived on a neighboring farm in their 1800s, suspicion grew when an infant mysteriously died in her care. When the baby was examined, it was determined that the mortal wound was caused by a large sewing needle that had been impaled at the base of the child's skull. Though the townspeople believed that Bathsheba sacrificed the infant as an offering to the devil, due to insufficient evidence, a court found that she was innocent of any wrongdoing. Despite her name being cleared legally, the public was not convinced. In her book House of Darkness, House of Light, Andrea Perron describes her mother Caroline talking to a man who she refers to as Mr. McEachern. Supposedly a bit of a local historian, Mr. McEachern told Caroline that Bathsheba treated the help badly and that she starved and beat her Sherman farm staff. In researching The Conjuring true story, we discovered that the suspected witch Bathsheba Sherman died as an old woman on May 25, 1885, roughly 4 years after her husband Judson Sherman's death in 1881. Bathsheba lived to see her son Herbert, a farmer like his father, marry his fiancée Anna in 1881. Various articles online will have you believe that her body literally turned to stone when she died, or that Bathsheba died from a bizarre form of paralysis that puzzled and frightened doctors. Their basis is never more than legend and local folklore, or internet rumors, and these same articles often state that Bathsheba had 4 children, all of whom died before reaching the age of 4. However, U.S. government census records contradict this, since we know that Bathsheba had a son, Herbert L. Sherman, who lived a long life as a farmer and had a family of his own. As for her 3 other children, we could only find an unofficial record of their existence on a public internet family tree that lists the names as Julia, born in 1845, Edward, born in 1847, and George, born in 1853. It is possible that they died before the next census was conducted. Ancestry.com. How did the Perron family figure out that the spirit haunting them was that of Bathsheba Sherman? The family's connection to the spirit of Bathsheba Sherman came at the suggestion of paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. The mother, Caroline Perron, told Ed and Lorraine about an incident that had happened a few years earlier. She said that she had been lying on the sofa and all of the sudden felt a piercing type of pain in her calf, and then the muscle began to spasm. Upon examination, she noticed a puddle of blood at the point of impact. She checked for bees or anything else that could have caused the puncture in her leg but found nothing. In her daughter's book, Andrea Perron describes the wound as a perfectly concentric circle, as if a large sewing needle had impaled her skin. When Caroline told Ed and Lorraine Warren this story in conjunction with the tale of Bathsheba Sherman, who had been suspected of killing an infant with a knitting needle, Lorraine suggested that Bathsheba Sherman could have taken the needle with her to the afterlife and used it to stab Caroline in the calf.